The best damn day of the week. Is just too much news for me to try and squeeze into just 1 hour of a stream. So I'm back for a little bit more. If you guys are coming off of the damage report, you guys knew this was happening. If you're not, you didn't know this was happening. I mean, sorry, bro, but there's too much to talk about. I was actually during the first hour of the normal part of the stream, usually at noon Eastern. I was right in the middle of this story, so I want to reset it up for you guys as you guys come back in. Maybe you didn't know what we were talking about, and maybe you did and you remember where we were, or maybe you did and you don't remember where we are. Whatever the reason is, let me set this back up for you guys. As I was talking about what was going on in Chicago, as DHS officials, ICE agents, federalization of police has been unleashed on that city, we've been seeing these instances of increased violence, shootings now going on, as these folks that have been armed and threatening people with guns at their faces as soon as they jump out of cars and tell them screaming to get out when there's absolutely no identification, no evidence of their necessity to do these things. Things are getting more and more violent. And in one particular case, there was this woman that was shot, and there was also an invalid story told by these officials that they were boxed in by 10 cars. We just went through a lot of that in those videos, but I want to tell you guys the scene that happened afterwards as people caught wind of the illegal activity that these agents were carrying out in the city as they promised to do, and then the response that came. Here's some quotes from a CBS article about that thing that went down in Chicago. They said federal agents, as you guys, this will tell the story if you guys missed it as well, but federal agents shot a woman in the Brighton Park neighborhood on Chicago's southwest side Saturday morning after they became boxed in by vehicles. Listen to this, the way that they cite them. According to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the woman, as well as the man whom authorities say was involved in the chaos, were facing charges Sunday. DHS originally said, DHS said the shooting happened while agents were patrolling Broadview, where the department has a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility that's been the site of ongoing protests and clashes between agents and demonstrators. But officials later confirmed the incident happened near 40th Street and Kidsey Avenue in Chicago. I mean, they have to get even the location off because the whole fear mongering as well as the victimization and the victimhood that they're pushing has to continue to be on full display. Here's more information apparently from DHS and not from CBS News. The patrolling agents were rammed by vehicles and, quote, boxed in by 10 cars, according to a statement from the Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary. DHS said the agents were unable to move their vehicles and got out of the car. According to DHS officials, again, one of the drivers of a car boxing them in had a gun, which the agency said was a semi-automatic weapon. DHS said the agents opened fire, striking the driver, who they said is a woman. And as you guys may have seen for the video earlier, also that user, I believe his name Quadzilla Hikes, also said how it was pretty much impossible for that to be the case as we see the ending scene of the ramming and the collisions and how her car was disabled. But they said she drove herself to the hospital, which he also pointed out. Why would you allow this criminal who's brandished a gun, has attacked you, and rammed your cars to then drive off to the hospital? Why would you let this criminal, illegal terrorist go? It doesn't make any sense. Here's more of what it is that they said that doesn't make any sense. Because afterwards, there was, of course, more protests. Americans are sick of this. All morning and into the afternoon Saturday, there were tense moments between agents and protesters with yelling, objects thrown, and officers spraying pepper balls. Groups of federal agents kept arriving on the scene. 4 to 5 undercover federal agents, SUVs, made their way through the crowd and go underneath tape. Each time they came through, protesters fought back. Here's a quote. If they're zooming through a crowd of protesters and they're doing it every 5 minutes to continue the irritation on people, it's almost like they want people to be provoked. At one point, a military vehicle pulled up near the protesters and an agent drew his gun from the roof, pointing at protesters below. Here's a quote again. Now, they got the SWAT truck here like we're the military now. This is like a war zone here. It's been the plan from the beginning. You agitate, you start violence, you point guns at people, you shoot some of them, claim that it's all their fault. And then when people actually fight back with self defense, by the way, is it illegal to have guns in this country or what? And as people fight back, then it turns into this look at the chaos that's going on. Look at these radical Antifa terrorists attacking these radical DHS officers, these folks that have been harming people, have been disappearing them, have not been identifying themselves, haven't shown their warrants, but they're just here to wreak havoc. Last little bit here, just so you guys get the full scene of what was going on and how they decide to respond to it. Because don't want you guys to forget the kind of language, this violent, political, partisan rhetoric that Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, and the rest of them all use. This is where it all comes together. DHS accused Chicago police of not helping during the incident. DHS also said in its statement that there's a growing crowd and we're deploying special operations to control the scene. Chicago police said in a statement that they responded to the 3900 block of South Kidsey Avenue in the city's Brighton Park neighborhood for a report of someone shot. The police then said that they responded to document the incident and to maintain safety and traffic control, but are not involved in the incident or the investigation. Again, the Chicago police said that federal authorities are investigating the shooting and that all further inquiries regarding the circumstances of this shooting should be referred to those appropriate federal authorities. Chicago police are trying to stay out of it. But then they're still there to try and, I guess, support in some kind of peacekeeping. But the people that are sparking the violence are the folks that are supposed to be other, quote unquote, law enforcement officials. They're a roving gang of terrorists. They start shit, and then after they start it, they call people, as I'm about to point out here, a bunch of terrorists. Kristi Noem, who's the figurehead for DHS, who doesn't know what she's doing, she described the incident as really strange. She said she alleged that before the shooting, a caravan of 10 vehicles was following the CBP agents and officers through the streets of Chicago. Here's her quote. They had followed them and gotten them cornered, pinned them down, and then our agents, when getting out of their cars, they tried to run them over and had semi-automatic handguns on them to where our agents had to protect themselves, and shots were fired at an individual, ended up in the hospital that was attacking these officers. Why didn't that individual end up right away in custody? But instead, she drove herself to the hospital. And then later they decided, look, we're going to have to arrest her because that's the only way our story is going to try and come together now. But they're so hardcore. They're so efficient. They would just let her roll. Last part. The woman who was shot was identified by DHS on Sunday as Miramar Martinez. DHS officials referred to Martinez and the other protesters involved in the incident as domestic terrorists. Domestic terrorists, the same thing that Stephen Miller referred to judges, the same thing they refer to as Democratic officials, the same thing they refer to as people that are protesting in the streets, the same thing they refer to as people who posted online about Charlie Kirk that they didn't like. Terrorists. And if you're old enough to remember when George W. Bush was in office, terrorists were what they called anybody to justify any of the illegal activities that they were doing internationally, over in Iraq, Afghanistan. But the thing is, now the terrorists are here, named by this same administration that scrubbed unsuccessfully, scrubbed information about who actual domestic terrorists are. Regularly, continually, and in the future are right-wing domestic terrorists that follow Donald Trump, that have sparked all the biggest violent protests and attacks on the country in recent years, have been Donald Trump's terrorists. So I guess they think the best way to avoid people realizing that they're the terrorists is to just, call everyone else that, and then let Stephen Miller's egghead ass talk about how they're the problem. There's a problem with that, though. The terrorists aren't the ones that are getting killed. Watch this.
In suburban Chicago, a blood-stained car marking a deadly flashpoint in America's immigration raids. The Department of Homeland Security saying ICE officers in Franklin Park tried stopping a vehicle driven by 38-year-old Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, but say he refused to follow commands and drove his car at law enforcement officers, dragging one a significant distance. ICE saying that officer who sustained severe injuries feared for his life, shooting Villegas Gonzalez, who later died at the hospital. DHS describes the individual as a criminal illegal alien with a history of reckless driving, though a review of Villegas Gonzalez's publicly available records by NBC News found no criminal charges. Records show he pleaded guilty to 4 traffic violations, including speeding, the most recent in 2013. Wow. 2 shots. Yes. In suburban Chicago,
shooting in the middle of American streets like a roving gang. And they're claiming that the guy they shot was violent and had all these violent criminal illegal alien that they killed. Donald Trump officials are murdering people in the streets now. Donald Trump officials are murdering people in the streets, and they're claiming it's their fault. And they're claiming it by saying that they're violent, illegal aliens. And as you look into it for 5 seconds, as NBC News pointed out right here, that violent criminal had some speeding tickets from 12 years ago. There's a reasons why they're not showing their arrest warrants. There's a reasons why that they're running up into normal immigration hearings and starting to arrest people and assault anyone that's standing nearby, because they're a roving illegal group of gang members killing people now. Because if you decide to push back, they kill you. But those poor, sorry-ass ICE agents are the ones that are reeling and having to have some kind of self-defense. Let me show you what they do to people before they even look at them. These guys are the poor, unheard American citizens, the patriots. This is what they want you to think. This is who they are.
Ya me encerraron, ya me agarraron, güey.
What is he being pulled over for? What is he being pulled over for?
Le van a quebrar el vidrio, te toca, Martín.
Le van a quebrar el vidrio,
Martín.
There's a child! There's a baby! There's a baby! Can you guys have a little bit mercy, dude? He has a 1-month-old. He has a 1-month-old.
Hey, for my baby, bro.
No. Martín, aquí estamos en el fire stop.
No words were said, guns were out and pointed. It's like a drive-by. It looks like a carjacking, you know, from these thugs that run up on people's cars, point a gun in their face and says, "Get out, I'm taking this." And then bang on their windows. But, you know, we need the National Guard in the streets to go against the people that are against these violations. That wasn't the end of it. I'll show you the back end where they explicitly let this woman know, who had a 1-2-month-old baby in the car with them, that they don't give a damn about, what the basis is for their attack on them.
Oh, motherfucker. Can I ask why he's being detained? Can I ask why he's being detained? Can I ask why he's being detained?
He has an immigration warrant.
He has an immigration. Can I see the warrant signed? Can I see the warrant signed?
Come to the office.
No, I need to see the warrant. This is illegal. You guys do not have the warrant signed.
This is not
No,
illegal.
you guys do not have not shown us the fucking warrant.
If you come by
You
the
have
office,
no.
you'll see it.
I want to see it right here. I want to see it right here. You guys don't have the fucking warrant.
Cover my back.
You're stepping his phone. You're stepping on his phone. Give me his phone.
No.
Give me his phone. Give me his phone. I'm asking, give me his phone. I need to call his boss. Give me his phone. Can I have?
We don't need to show you no warrant. We have a warrant. It's an immigration warrant. Won't show it, has his property, and runs him off and says, you'll get some information later. But they don't want you to listen to folks that said they never get information. They don't want you to listen to folks that said they never saw their loved one. They don't want you to listen to folks that said they don't know where their loved ones went. All those folks, again, I mentioned the alligator Alcatraz situation. They don't want you to pay attention to what it is that they're doing, because they're a bunch of illegal gangs running through the streets, assaulting and even killing some folks. And it's not that I want it to happen, but when the confrontations get to the degree that they've been pushing for, and then they can start saying, we're going to go ahead and declare martial law, and there's no more freedoms. There's limited freedoms for every person in the country, including the dumbass red hat wearers that think they got some extra freedoms to go ahead and practice their white superiority complexes over the folks. That's what's coming next. They're triggering this further and further and further. And as they did in all of these situations, they're going to blame other folks for it. There's this guy whose name is actually growing amongst these, Department of Homeland Security, Border Patrol folks. I believe he's a Border Patrol leader. His name is Greg Bovino. When they showed up in Chicago and they were meeting with other law enforcement folks, there were people screaming and pointing out who Greg Bovino is. Here he is talking about their tactics and the way that they go about things. This is from, there was both a local news and also a reporter from them, and also I said someone, I think from the Chicago Sun-Times, that he talked to about the way that they approach their jobs. Keep this in mind as they keep talking about how these folks they're targeting are terrorists.
How can you tell by appearance?
Yeah, there's many different factors that go into something like that. It would be agent experience, intelligence that indicates there's illegal alienage in a particular place or location. Then obviously the particular characteristics of an individual, how they look. How do they look compared to, say, you? What's your name again?
Chip.
Hey, Chip, you or other folks, how do they appear in relation to what you or other people look like? So a lot of different things that go into that. And then you've also got that agent experience and knowledge.
Appearance. Greg Bovino just admitted to that reporter, Chip, if he either looks like you, Chip, we probably leave him alone based off of what he said. But we go off of appearance, and we go and look into that as the reasons why we then go and assault, arrest, and potentially kill people. Because Donald Trump told us. And the Supreme Court apparently too, as they put a hold on that limitation of their declaration, they get to just profile people and pull guns out and put them in their faces through their window, break open windows, and terrorize people's families. Greg Bovino says appearance. So if someone appears to be an ICE agent, which we've seen an influx of, and actual ICE agents that we've seen coming through the streets not identifying themselves, what Americans don't get to do is see that appearance and then act the same way they do. But there's a certain look you have. Apparently that look has always been a right-wing white nationalist that rose through the streets and is looking for a fight. Now they've been deputized by this racist piece of trash in the White House. Let me remind you guys of something before I go to this last story, because I know people don't like to hear this. Let me remind you guys of something. Next time anyone's upset at you and says, well, man, what would have Kamala would have done? What would she have done? She wouldn't have done this. There's other stuff she would have done that I would disagree with. She wouldn't have done this, but what she did tell you, you didn't listen to. So if just on this aspect, maybe apologize if you didn't hear her when she said this would happen after we just went over what we were seeing.
Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him. People he calls, quote, the enemy from within. America, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. Donald.
I haven't found any lies in that speech. Revenge. He just fired another I believe another FBI agent for not perp walking James Comey. Little things. He's a very petty, small person. And look who's been unleashed, and he's planning to do more of into the streets of the United States in certain cities for training grounds to murder some Americans. And she wasn't getting that from any kind of detailed inside information. What she was getting that from was him telling everyone that that's what he wanted to do, and now he's doing it. So be prepared when the fight back actually happens in a larger degree, because they're going to keep increasing their numbers and their attacks on American citizens. Expect it to happen, and then they're going to be celebrating it just like they celebrated Charlie Kirk being killed, just like they're celebrating the government shutdown so they can do more fascist activity. Everything that they're leading us towards is for more chaos and disorder so that they can claim, look at all this chaos and disorder. Who could have seen it coming? Last story. Damn, man, I talk way too much. I talked about this for a second, and we talked about it for a second over on the damage report, but you guys maybe didn't get a chance to see what it was that was happening over on Fox News. In case you didn't see that, Donald Trump flew into a tantrum, and he was very upset about a little bit of truth being told over on Fox News. And it came from the Senator Mark Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat of Arizona, was talking about this, specifically this government shutdown and whose fault it is and what's going to happen.
Are you going to vote with Republicans to reopen the government?
Well, if we could reopen the government and bring down these costs, absolutely. Nobody wants to see the government shut down. I mean, we know what happens when people don't get their paychecks. We get that. But let me tell you a quick story about a woman in Arizona, in Prescott. Her name's Robin. I spoke to her last week. She's on a fixed income. She's 60 years old. She's a fifth generation American. She said to me, she says, why are they making this about immigrants? This isn't about immigrants. This is about me. Now, she pays $250 a month on the ACA, on the exchange, for her health care, but she gets around $9,000 in those premium tax credits. She is expecting, if we do not act on this, that is going to go away. And she says she will not be able to afford health care anymore. So this, Peter, this is about real people who are going to see the price of health care skyrocket.
And you're talking about the price of health care and immigrants. The heart of the disagreement seems to be that Republicans do not think that illegal immigrants should have access to taxpayer-funded health insurance.
And they don't.
So the Democratic position, your official position here, is that illegal immigrants should not have any access to taxpayer-funded health insurance. Does that include federal and state?
Well, the federal law is that undocumented individuals do not have access to Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, even the Affordable Care Act. That's the law. So this is a red herring from my Republican colleagues. They don't want to, help folks out because they needed that money. And this should be pretty simple for people to understand. When they gave that extension of the 2017 tax cuts, which helped out the richest Americans, it was partially paid for by taking away Medicaid and taking away these ACA tax credits for people who just can't afford health care.
Simple, straightforward terms. When asked about that elementary argument, I'm not even sure if Peter Ducey really believes it, but he went and asked that whole lie. Well, so are you saying, Senator, that you're against illegal immigrants having access to our healthcare system? Yes, that's the way it's always been. So this lie that you guys came up with, it's very, very easily debunked. As a matter of fact, the people that you're demonizing as being the folks who are siphoning from the system are contributing to the system and getting nothing back in return. So forget the fact that they're taking away all that, but also with the added lie that the reasons the healthcare system that we have to continue to raid and take away from more American citizens is because these illegals are coming for it. The fear monger is always the topic. But so again, Senator Kelly very easily dispelled all those very open and baseless lies that they keep telling. You would imagine that if someone's going to have some kind of pushback, have that debate, because they like to have debates that they say, that maybe they would debate on the topic. This president doesn't debate on topics. This president just rages and gets mad that anyone's getting any kind of an opportunity to show his lies. This was his response to what you just heard. See if it has anything to do with what they were talking about. He says, why is Fox News and Peter Doocy putting on Democrat Senator Mark Kelly to talk about totally unabated or challenged health care? The fake spin is so bad for Republicans that it's hard to believe that we win. It'll be very unfair in the future when they don't have Trump, for some reason in quotes, to fight for them. Therefore, we should fix it now. Fix what? He says, I'm watching this interview. It just doesn't end. Fox should either get on board or get off board now. But at this point, it just doesn't make any difference to me. They suck up the ratings. They suck up the ratings because of us and then spin them in the Democrats' direction. They refuse to put up polls that correctly show me at 65% in popularity, a Republican record. But if I have a fake bad poll, many of which are done by Fox, one of the worst pollsters out there is Fox News poll, they put them up immediately with gusto. Republicans are so tired of this fight with Fox always trying to do so politically correct. This sumbitch wants you to believe that Fox News is faking polls because they finally have to start admitting that this guy is the most unpopular piece of trash in the country. Did you hear him mention anything about healthcare? Anything about the argument that Senator Kelly was making about healthcare and how it's been taken away from American citizens, and that undocumented folks don't have any access to it? Did you hear him dispute anything? Or did you hear him start complaining about how Fox News, which in the way that he talks about them, isn't conservative enough to continue carrying his water all the time? The expectation is that they're supposed to keep carrying his water, lie for him, change their polling for him. Because once you go ahead and give your loyalty to this guy, he expects it endlessly. He expects it with stupidity. And every time he says something stupid, he expects them to continue to back it up with nothing. He's a child. The problem is that he's a very dangerous child and wants to kill people who don't agree with his temper tantrums. So we'll see. That's it. I got to do some editing, you guys. That was a lot. It's a Monday. These will go up on the page as well for those of you guys that are here. I appreciate you showing up and coming around for an extra little 20 minutes or so. But I'm going to jump off. All these will be up on the page. Before you take off, go ahead and put a like on that. Share the stream. Tell folks what's happening. Make sure you see us every day at noon, though. Noon Eastern here. I go for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, if it's not on a Monday. But I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hopefully some more developments will happen. We'll see what happens. Be safe. Be aware. Understand what's happening in the world, because it all comes from the top down. Catch you guys tomorrow. Come catch me. Come catch these stories in a bit. We'll see you.